Fire starters. Today is fire starter making day. We are making fire starters. This is a completed fire starter. This is what they look like. Yes, they have a little flower on them. That's from the cotton swab. This is what it looks like when it's just a little thin cotton round. This is the cotton round packaging. Premium cotton rounds. They come in a package like this. 99 cents for, I believe it's 100 rounds. Yep. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, probably not. 100 count rounds for 99 cents. Very cost effective. So what I did was I took a candle, not a new one. It was a candle that had burned down. The wick had burned down, leaving me with a hollow shell about this tall. The wax was left over, but no wick. So the candle was basically wasted. Well, I don't waste anything. So I took the wax from that candle and I was able to run it through the cheese grater here and make this, which is just grated candle. Comes out looking like cheese, kinda. So then you take some of this and you put it in your melting device. Now, melting device. You have several options. You can use a tin can over an open flame. You can use a double boiler on the stove, however you'd like to do it. This is my way. What I do is you just melt wax in this little deal. That's exactly what it's meant for, is melting wax. It's for, you know, making the house smell nice, or whatever they call them. You know, melters or burners, melt burners, or whatever they call them, I forget. And this one was one that I found at a nice store that had a cast iron pan hooked to it in this little deal. I've used this for many things other than just being cute. So this is a tea light down here. I also have an alternative that I'll show you later to a tea light. But we're going to wait for this to melt. So we'll be back shortly for an extension when this little stuff right here melts. And we'll go on with making our fabulous little fire starters. Okay. We're going to give this a try. A little bit of... I think we're ready here. Now, see, you always want to make sure by taking a Q-tip, toothpick, and see how this little skin is on here? That's just the skin that has formed. Even though it's all melted, the whole pot's melted, there's still a little skin. And so you stir it around that last little bit before you start dipping. Here, let me do this with the other hand so you can see. You just want to stir it a little bit just to make sure. By the way, this is making fire starters. These are some ones I made a while back. I brought out for an example. So, we've got our fire here, down here, a little tea light, heating up the wax that's in here. The wax that we have is this little shredded candle that we have, that we shredded on a cheese grater. So, what we're going to do is make sure our surface is all clean where we're going to lay them. We don't want these little chunks of unmelted wax to get stuck to our fire starters. It wouldn't really make a difference, but still don't want them to get stuck to it. I'd prefer not. So What I do is I take my rounds out of their packaging, take about a stack of 10 of them, because that's usually I can get about 10 out of this without making it completely empty. So I have a stack of about 10, and you're going to take your first one here, and you're going to see if I can do this left-handed so you can see better. And you're just going to kind of flip-flop it back and forth real quick. I always let it drip off just a little bit, just so that I don't make a big mess. And then you just simply lay it down. And then you grab another. And because there is a candle underneath here, you really can take your time with this. The candle's going to keep the wax hot. So feel free to, go play with the kids or take a break or whatever you have to do, and not worry too much about the wax, hardening up on you. The candle will keep it in its liquid state. So I did 3 of these here for you. That's about how it goes. And as you can see, on this one there's still an exposed side that doesn't have wax on it. Well, this one I did just a few minutes ago, and so that one, what I'm doing here is I'm just pressing down any loose edges, rubbing it around, making sure there's no, anything sticking out or anything like that, making sure there's no cotton sticking out. It makes it really waterproof. But now you can see this little cottony edge here, and that's all that's left is that little cotton piece sticking out. And all I'm going to do is go back to the hot wax and dip that little edge in. I'm going to shake it off a little bit. And that's it. Okay. Alright, folks. We are making fire starters. So what I've done is I've taken the last bit of the wax and put it in here. And as you can see. And our fire starters that we did earlier, they're all done. They're all firm and finished up. And so what I'm doing now is showing you an alternative to using a tea light. This is a tea light here that we were using earlier. What I'm using now is actually cut up pieces of fire starter. I also just tear it up. That works really well. Tearing it actually rips those fibers open, which is really helpful. So when you're working in a bug out situation, out at the campfire, just at home, starting your fireplace. I use these a lot for that, actually. Starting the fire pit, I use them a lot for that. They make starting the fire pit really easy. You know, a lot of people use those logs and things like that. One of these will give me at least a 5 to 7 minute burn, and that's plenty to start the fire. Stack a bunch of wood on top of it, and so it really does work. I have found that this obviously melts this wax much quicker than using tea light. If I use the tea light, I would probably have to use 2 of these throughout this whole session. I found that by utilizing the fire starters in a very small piece, obviously very small piece, I'm able to melt this wax very quickly, and then maintain that temperature. I can either slide this back under there, or the pan itself is cast iron. It really maintains the heat really well, so I really don't have to. Still have a lot of time before the wax cools down, plenty of time. But if I'm worried about my wax firming up, I simply can slide the tea light under there if I want to, or just throw some more fire starter on there. It gives me plenty of burn time, as much as I want. What I'm actually using is just some cheap tea lights. These are expensive tea lights, cheap tea lights, 50 cents on clearance, 25 cents if you're lucky. But I had used them. This was leftover from what was left over from the day before, after I had burned it all up. So I was able to reuse that little tin bottom. That little tin bottom is this right here, and it makes my little fire pit underneath my cast iron pan. So I think that's a great feature. So this wax, I just put this in here. It would have taken, probably half an hour to maybe 35-40 minutes with a tea light by itself. By using the fire starter under here, which really only took half of a fire starter. That's what it took to melt this whole pot of wax, and in probably less than 5 minutes. Now the whole pot of wax is melted, and I'm ready to make more fire starters. And so that's what I'm going to do. And so we're done. I hope you enjoyed fire starters, how to make fire starters. I really hope that you give it a whirl, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a great evening.